let's go through our crazy food takes, or at least our craziest food take. Matt, what is yours?
I don't like mac and cheese because every single day when I went to my great aunt's house when I was a kid, I would have salami sandwiches with sweet gherkin pickles
Wow.
and maybe like a small amount of chip. And then for dinner, I would always have a hot dog and mac and cheese every day for 3 years. I do not like mac and cheese anymore.
But yeah, do you like hot dogs still?
I will choose a brat over a hot dog anytime I get the chance. If a hot dog's offered, but it's different. It's meat or like mystery meat, I guess.
You can't get
I'm not really a picky eater either. Going in here and down here.
and out there. Mine is that I just absolutely hate onions. I hate onions so much. Like I cannot stand anything with them. The taste, the texture, the every single thing about it. There's no redeeming qualities in my mind.
I love red onions.
And see, those are even worse. Like I hate those the most.
They're so delicious, Justin. If it was socially acceptable, I probably would eat a red onion like an apple.
Oh, it's so I almost gag thinking about that.
Hello, and welcome to Updog Sports Talk. My name is Matt Miller. Joining me today is Justin McGovern.
What is up, everybody?
He had a very delayed hello. Couple of notes. If you were not able to listen to last week's episode, it's because YouTube decided that they no longer want me to download my own videos, and when I go live, it no longer wants to give me the video. So this week we are recording and we're streaming. So that way we can get content to every platform. I'll have Justin send out a tweet at some point. But today, as per usual, we're going over college football topics. NFL has gotten pretty bland, in our opinion. It's the same thing every week. The refs through this game made a bad call. So-and-so got hurt. This team should have been good, but they're really bad. This team we thought was going to be bad, but they continue to do as good as they did in the past. So we're going to stick to college football where the storylines are a little bit more dramatic. A couple notes on other sports, though. The rookie of the year was Paul Skeens for Major League Baseball. And he's the NL rookie of the year. I can't remember who the AL rookie of the year was, but Tariq Skubal unanimously wins AL Cy Young. That's no surprise, but a little bit of a surprise to me was Chris Sale won NL Cy Young. I was expecting Skeens to get more than third in the voting. He had a hell of a year. Look for him to be in the mix for Cy Young again next year. But yeah, some housekeeping notes there for baseball fans. Back to college football. Justin, what do we got?
Yeah, so there's another edition of the college football playoff rankings. And, normally during these episodes, we have talked about how awful the committee has done, how this ranking's ridiculous. There's no reason that Missouri should still be ranked, even though they somehow are. They ignored this head-to-head matchup and all that. But, we've come to realize, we're going to give them a bit of a break because, maybe they're in a no-win situation with these weekly rankings. Matt, I think, because they start the rankings, almost towards the end of the year, but then they do them weekly. So all of a sudden, they're forced to react to what's going on each week after not reacting for a month. And it's creating a problem here where I think and nobody has faith in the credibility of this committee at this point. And I think their job is being made harder by, yeah. And I think this job is being made harder by the fact that we're doing these rankings weekly. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, remember when it was first released, it wasn't weekly.
It still was, but yeah.
I feel like they took stock in it like once a month, and like the weekly ones were like, meh. Weekly just it makes sense just because all other rankings have been done weekly. So monthly would feel like the conversation dries out if they don't keep it going. But the committee's got to do a much better job. I mean, they're so biased in everything they do. It's like, what's the point of having all these teams if you're only going to focus on 10 teams?
Yeah.
Like, I understand you're like, you have a certain number of teams making it to the playoff, but like, you're giving 10 teams like higher priority over others, despite like maybe not playing as well. Like, I feel like if they wanted to, they could just say, you know what? Let's just have USC ranked in here in the top 5.
Yeah. Like, it feels like the results on the field are being ignored too often. I know sometimes you get a no-win situation. Like, this past week, the most recent log jam that was created was, the situation with Alabama, Ole Miss, Georgia, Tennessee, where those 4 had a situation where Tennessee beat Alabama, Georgia beat Tennessee, Ole Miss and Alabama both beat Georgia, and you're just in a situation where it feels like there's no correct way to order these teams. But it also feels like they're kind of just reacting to what's going on and not really having a clue what to do. Like, and that's why, it feels like teams like Texas and Penn State that, they've only played one good team so far this year, got smoked in that game, but just keep rising up the rankings because they only have one loss.
Yeah. And sorry, I was watching some guy hammer his phone on ESPN too. I'm watching the Toledo, Ohio game. It's pretty good so far, but it just seems like they took everything the AP poll had put out as gospel instead of creating their own stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the other issue too. Like, we've created this weekly ranking thing from the beginning with the AP poll, because they want to have something to tie these matchups to. But then, we're creating a situation where we're saying, this team is better than this team because we ranked them higher in the preseason and we refuse to go off of that opinion.
Yeah, I think if they wanted to like do it like smart, obviously separate everything you do from the AP poll. But maybe not in a playoff standpoint, maybe in a like you gotta keep the credibility of the AP poll. Otherwise, it's meaningless to have that if
we've lost credibility of the AP.
I know, but I mean, like, you have to give some kind of reward at the end of the regular season for the AP poll if you're going to have your own poll over here for the college football playoff. I feel like that would make more sense. And like, I don't know how to do it. Maybe like an in-season winner or something. And
so,
like,
I mean, the one
it's just like, oh yeah, you win. Like,
the one and only thing the AP poll does is, like at the end of the season, they'll release a playoff ranking after the polls are played. So the AP poll, releases its final poll at the end of the year. I mean, for example, like, let's say, UNLV wins their bowl game, they'll finish the top 25, and that is a huge celebration. That's a huge accomplishment for UNLV. And I mean, for some, even a few other. Wow, there's sumo wrestling going on the field on the gray turf in Eastern Michigan right now. It's hilarious. But like, I mean, even for lower like Power 5 teams, like if South Carolina finishes ranked, they're not used to finishing there, so that's an accomplishment for them as well. So there is that aspect of it. Personally, I like how we do it. We do a ranking at the beginning of October, a ranking at the beginning of November, and then we do a final ranking after the end of the regular season. So that's how we do it. I feel like that gives us a good opportunity to, not have to worry about moving in this and this team reacting to each week. We can kind of just take the results as a whole for the whole season and put together a set of rankings as a result of that.
Yeah, I like ours, but I do feel like the last two polls we put out, when we talked highly about a certain team, they ended up losing. And I don't know if that was on purpose. Like at this point, I feel like we're not a big enough show for them to really even know about. But it just feels like they're like, hey, these guys are saying this about these teams. Maybe we should have them lose, and so they don't have any credibility. Like I think Penn State lost after the last one. We dogged on Ole Miss, and then they had like a huge win.
We actually ranked after Penn State lost, so we dropped them pretty significantly for that. Ole Miss, we dogged on them, and they definitely proved us wrong.
Yeah,
but I mean,
LSU
remember, we are taking a point in time, though. When you're doing rankings, you're ranking them point in time. That is how it should be. You should not be in the prediction business, because nobody predicted Vanderbilt would beat Alabama this year. Like, I mean, you can go on with all the different upsets and stuff. Like, we're not supposed to base this sport on predictions. We're basing the sport on what actually happens.
Yeah, I feel like sports in general just need a hard reset. Like it just seems like the rigged conversation comes up, or the conversation about like a super bias. I think there needs some sort of hard reset to change the way we think about these sports. And I'm not just saying college football. I'm talking NFL, NBA. We don't follow NHL. I don't know if there's parity there or not, but MLB.
All I know is the Buffalo Sabres have sucked for like 20 years, and I'm waiting for them to ever be good to pay attention again. NHL.
Yeah, I think the last time they were good, Ryan Miller was there.
I thought honestly, like they had him, and like they still weren't good. Sorry, but mentioning the city of Buffalo, the Buffalo Bulls just had their corner just had an incredible one-handed interception in the end zone. Eastern Michigan's having a bad day.
My boss was talking to me, and like he's kind of into betting, so he'll place like live bets on games and stuff. Maybe like a spread here and there. He and I were talking, and I told him Buffalo's going to destroy Eastern Michigan. And he was like, nah. And then later in the day, he was like, well, I guess I won't be putting money down on that game. Could have put money down on Buffalo. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I thought about texting him during the show. Yeah, I thought about texting him during the show, but I'll just wait till tomorrow and ruin his day tomorrow.
But no, there is a good point though. Like, we do see these conversations going on everywhere. Like, college football, it's like, I mean, well, at this point, I think it actually is kind of becoming pretty blatantly rigged towards two certain conferences. And then, in the NFL, it's, the refs keep favoring this team and this team, like,
when I feel like that really started? Like, there was always like a couple of times here and there, but I feel like that was really started becoming very obvious that Rams and Saints was it NFC championship game?
NFC Championship,
Yeah, where the like Drew Brees threw that pass and it was obvious pass interference, but they didn't call it. I feel like that's when it became obvious that they were just like, yo, this is rigged and we are going to show you that it's rigged, but we're not going to tell you.
I don't know if it's necessarily that far, but I think that was the point where everyone lost confidence in officiating.
Well, when I had this conversation with a client at work and he was like, do you think it's rigged? And I was like, yes and no. And he's like, what do you mean by that? And I was like, to a certain extent, the play on the field has to dictate where the game's going to go. But if the game is close, then the refs take the opportunity to maybe sway the game in favor of another team. And I think it's become more prominent with sports betting becoming legal. Just because there's like NFL gets like $3 billion a year from sports betting. And they're not going to just willingly give up that money. Like I feel like that money is there as a buyout.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, you see this elsewhere too, like college basketball. When a mid-major has to travel to a power conference team, you'll notice a lot of times, calls that should be a charge in the power conference team end up getting called a foul in a mid-major and so on.
Is that a reference to the Bowling Green Michigan State game?
It could be. That's the thing. You can pretty much say any power conference versus mid-major game pretty much ends up that way. Physicality for me, but not for ye. It's crazy. It's been something I've definitely noticed has been very rampant in college basketball early this year. I did not expect us to get to college basketball today, but that's our one thing there. I guess moving on here to our next topic on the list, Arizona State pulled off a big win in the Big 12. Desmond Howard did not notice it, but Arizona State suddenly generally controls most of their path. Iowa State, I think, kind of is in the way a little bit, but Arizona State has a very real shot at winning the Big 12 and making the college football playoff. And this is a long time. This is Kenny Dillingham's second year. So in year two, he rebuilt this thing from the gigantic mess that Herm Edwards left.
Not just Herm Edwards. Antonio Pierce was part of that.
Allegedly. Yeah, and a bunch of NFL guys. Antonio Pierce, Marvin Lewis's special regional assistant to the head coach or something like that. Some made up role there. All those guys made a mess of this program. And in year two, Kenny Dillingham already has this team in contention for the Big 12 title. For a very long time, Arizona State has been talked about as this program with so much potential. They're in Arizona. Arizona's a growing state, and it already is a very good recruiting state. It is also very closely located to California and, I mean, to a lesser extent, Texas as well. Plus, they play games against Texas teams now. Is Arizona State getting close to unlocking this potential? And when we look at the Big 12, where, we don't have an obvious alpha program in the conference, could Arizona State become that program?
I feel like, and you and I are a little biased because we have a soft spot for every team that we've played as in college football or in NCAA 14. It's a lot of teams, but maybe not Northwestern, but at least I don't have a soft spot for them. But we played as Arizona State, and they were probably one of the very few teams that ended up continuing on being good after we left. I think every team tanked as soon as we left. That's not real life. Getting back to real life. I do think they have a shot at it because they are in good location. They are in a city that is like in a state that is growing very quickly. And like now you have like a bunch of stuff going on with the program. They're lifting up Pat Tillman, making jerseys specifically for Pat Tillman around Veterans Day and stuff like that. And like I think
they have made so many cool Pat Tillman jerseys. It's crazy. Like I have a Desert Storm Pat Tillman jersey. I wish I had worn that for the show tonight now. But they have some really cool stuff.
Yeah, and they have notoriety now, whereas I feel like 10 years ago, they like when you thought about Arizona State, all you thought about was Pat Tillman. Then they made the uniform change, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's really cool." And then now they're starting to get better and better recruits, and I feel like they're stealing a lot of LA kids away from definitely UCLA and to a little bit of a lesser extent USC.
I mean, there's a lot of people decommitting from USC right now.
Lots. But I feel like the Big 12 is so deep that in any given year, it could just get flipped on its head. Like Kansas was really good last year, and we expected Kansas to be the team that wins the Big 10 this year. And then
12.
they're like bottom third.
Well, okay. I did not expect to talk about Kansas, but we need to talk about this team. So entering the season, one of the reasons why we really loved Kansas to win the Big 12 was their schedule is expected to be easy. Look back at their schedule now. They played 2 top 25 teams in their non-conference schedule. They have also played, by the end of the year, they will have played the top 7 teams in the Big 12 and none of the bottom 4. Like their schedule flipped. I mean, this is a great example of what you're just saying about how the Big 12 can change year to year. Their schedule flipped from what was expected to be one of the easiest to one of the toughest in the whole country.
But I also feel like that plays into what we were talking about earlier, where like preseason rankings don't mean dick. Like
they don't.
So like all the expectations we had in the preseason. Yeah, it's cool to do rankings. It's cool to just hype up the season at the beginning of the year. But you take away all that, people are still going to talk about college football. Like you can talk about what individual teams are going to do. Just take away the rankings. And I think the rankings have kind of ingrained us to think a certain way about certain teams. And because LSU had been getting ranked higher, because Ole Miss had been getting ranked higher before their win, last week, 2 weeks ago.
I mean, like, look at the USC LSU game. Those 2 teams were ranked in the top 25 for no reason.
I'm pretty sure at that time it was 2 top 10 teams.
Yeah, no, top 15, 20, something like that. But anyways, USC beats LSU, and all of a sudden, for some reason, like everyone gets excited about both teams. Completely delayed everyone thinking that Michigan was bad because then Michigan beat USC, thinking that was a good win at the time. Like you look at just a complete domino effect of what happened as a result of these 2 teams being arbitrarily ranked highly and not being anywhere close to that good.
Yeah, and then getting back to Arizona State, I feel like the media has played into that so much that like Desmond Howard didn't even know that was a big game.
Yeah, it's because ESPN at this point just blatantly ignores most of the other teams in college football. And this is another example of it, unfortunately. Like College Game Day used to be a lot of fun when they talked about the rest of college football.
Yeah, and I love College Game Day for Pat McAfee and Kirk Herbstreit.
And Nick Saban as well. Nick Saban.
Yeah, Nick Saban.
I'm a huge fan of what he brings.
I do like Nick Saban, but I mean, like, as far as like the main crew, like Lee Corso's on his way out, obviously, but the rest are kind of interchangeable. Like you could take them out, you could put somebody else in with similar notoriety and stuff. I feel like Pat McAfee is the entertaining factor. Kirk Herbstreit is the knowledge of the game. Mm-hmm. I feel like those 2 you can't take out if you want to keep going. And Kirk Herbstreit knows what he's talking about. Pat, to a certain extent, but Pat also covers heavily the NFL. He covers NBA. He covers women's basketball. He's got a family now. So, like, I don't expect Pat's knowledge to be up to par as everybody else's. But he's
and I mean, keep
the
in
most
mind,
entertaining person at ESPN.
Yeah. And I mean, keep in mind too, like I really don't blame a lot of Desmond Howard. Maybe I blame him, but I mean, the rest of the talent, like I don't really blame them for the direction it's gone. It's come from up above. They get a list of topics they're supposed to cover, they're told to cover, and they're supposed to research and stuff. So like I can't really blame them for that. It's just where the direction is well above their heads at ESPN.
Yeah, definitely the producers of the show need to do a better job of, like, I understand North Texas isn't going to move the needle, but like if North Texas was undefeated, there would be probably Desmond Howard and maybe somebody else would be like, wow, look at this team go. The little team that chugged, like.
Or like, like even the week before, like, instead of going to your third Georgia game of the year, we've gone to so many Georgia games already. How about go to Montana State and UC Davis? Go to UC Davis for the first time, I'm sure, ever. And, embrace a different fan base, a different group, a different conference, a different group of teams, and talk about what they're doing. Like we had that last year, James Madison, that was the best college game day episode last year. We didn't have one of those this year. We're not going to, because we know for a fact they're going to go to Texas A&M next week.
Yeah. My cats are destroying stuff in this room. But I mean, this weekend, did they announce where they're going this upcoming weekend?
Yeah, they're going to Ohio State, Indiana.
Okay, that's a big game, but they also had Arizona State and BYU on the table that they could have gone to as well. Would Indiana and Ohio State be a bad pick? No, not at all. But you have options this week.
This was, also, like, this is the thing, like, week 3, you had an opportunity to go to a more interesting destination. Like, I mean, South Carolina wound up being better than expected, but, like, why that game? Why that game? Or, like, the other one they considered was Kentucky. Like, I was just like, why? You could just go to a more fun place and, have that as your throwaway week, or you go to a new destination instead of just picking one of those two. Or like, the week they went to Indiana, that was the first time they went to Indiana. That was pretty cool. But like, it wasn't a big game. It was a noon Indiana-Washington game that was on the Big Ten Network, involving a Washington team that was struggling to even reach bowl eligibility this year. Yeah. Like, that wasn't a big game. You could have just gone to, that could have been where you went to the different destination. And then this one could have been the one where, okay, I know it's on the road down at home, but you're in the state over, Indiana fans, come on over here too. Because, I mean, and actually, Pat's show.
It's just a drive across I-70. It's really not that far of a drive.
Yeah. Well, I think Pat's show actually mentioned this. Like, he mentioned on the show this week, like, some of these teams, some of these fan bases, when they keep posting it over and over, they start to take it for granted that it's not quite as fun. Like, he was kind of worried about what the crowd would look like. He was like, Indiana fans, come on, head on down here and come to game day.
And like Ohio State fans, there's a large following of Ohio State fans. So like, Ohio State's not a good example, because if you go to Ohio State and get on national TV, those people are going to show up. They show up regardless. You just happen to have a set in the middle of their tailgate, so they just turn around. Like, am I wrong?
So true. No, so true.
But you go to like UC Davis, and you would have probably a third of California trying to travel there to get on TV, because all these people and alumni and stuff like want to show, hey, this is a campus that we care about our school.
Yeah, and also like the Calvarism, they actually got on board with UC Davis as their FCS team, so all of them would have been at that destination too.
Yeah.
Although I do have to credit their halftime shows right now. They are talking about the Big 12, which is new. Usually they only cover the same SEC games. But I think that's because the SEC games are absolutely terrible this weekend.
That and SEC, Big 10, ACC, and Big 12 are going to make their own league, so they want to be able to cover some bigger games in each of those, like ACC and Big 12, so they can get ratings on those.
Yeah.
Conspiracy theorist time of the day. Conspiracy corner.
I was gonna say on to lighter topics, but this is where it would be like good to have like sound effects, one of those like or something like that, because our next topic is firing of the Owls. This weekend, we had our only Owl versus Owl game of the year. Temple played Florida Atlantic. It was a very ugly game, very low scoring. Florida Atlantic scored late to make it 15-15. They went to overtime. Florida Atlantic missed a field goal, and at that point it was over because Temple is one of the best kickers in college football, so they kicked the field goal to win it. After the game, you know how Temple responded? They fired their head coach. Then, actually, you know what? While I talk here, I need to pull up the announcement.
FAU, didn't FAU fire their coach?
Yes, and then the day after, FAU follows it up by firing their coach.
And guess who's rumored to be their next head coach? Raymond Lewis.
Oh my gosh. That was the craziest thing, was that Ray Lewis is considered their next potential head coach. Anyways, so guess who Temple's coach got fired by?
Who?
The Temple University Vice President / Debbie and Stanley Lefkowitz 1965 Director of Athletics, Arthur Johnson.
I don't know who that
Someone sponsored their athletic director position. So every time you mention their athletic director, you have to say this long phrase.
That's not a bad idea. I mean, if we could just like get our positions on the show sponsored, not even just the show, just our positions.
Oh, here we go. Okay, so we got to come up with the Justin McGovern and Matt Miller what do we want to call us? Co-something of UpdogSportsTalk.com. Bowling Green Athletic Director.
Yeah.
The only problem is like we have a low budget, so we probably have to like sponsor like the head coach of like the volleyball team or something.
You know what would be cool? Like seeing if we could just pay a small amount of money to get our name on a bowl game. Like,
oh my gosh.
Just some random like FCS like bowl game, or like the worst possible one that just can't get sponsorship. And then we give them like $100 and it's the UpdogSportsTalk.com bowl.
It's not as cheap as you would think. Actually, someone that we follow, Matt Brown of Extra Points, his publication is sponsoring a Division III bowl game this year. And like they're pretty big, so I think we're a long ways away from that. But it would be fun to have the Updog Sports Talk Bowl.
Yeah.
Or eventually the Cincinnati Chili Bowl presented by Updog Sports Talk.
That would be so cool, dude. Like we get to do the commentary from the sidelines on YouTube.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like what the Barstool Sports Bowl was for a little bit. Like you know, where it's just like us like joking around, like semi-professional commentary the whole game.
Yeah, and Hit it right. He got tackled for a 1-yard gain. Like, I feel like, first of all, that actually really made my throat itch. So I'm like holding back a cough. Second of all, that would be so much fun. We could like come up with our own crew and have like Chad do something weird on one end of the field.
Oh no, I know it would be so great.
Find like the
Man.
most unathletic person and have him do cartwheels.
That's me. I'm the most unathletic person. I guess it's our halftime show.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like getting back to the owl thing, like how crazy is it that
so
like there needs
finishing,
to be a bracket of owls.
yeah. Well, I mean, we talked about before when College Football 25 came out, we need to make the all owl conference. So finishing what happened there. So after these two made these moves, it completed that all four Owls programs, so Kennesaw State and Rice as well, all fired their coaches this year, all before the season ended. It's a bad time to be a coach of an Owl. But at the same time, you know, we like to do a positive spin on things. It's a new beginning for all four Owls programs.
What if like Kennesaw State just randomly gets like Jimbo Fisher or Urban Meyer, like some big name that just like it would probably have to be closer to Jimbo Fisher, even though he's rumored for West Virginia. But like take like a decent sized named coach, like Charlie Strong or it was Tom Herman. What if Tom Herman went to Kennesaw
Tom
State?
Herman. So Tom Herman goes from owl to owl.
Yeah. That would be fantastic. And then just turns them around and Kennesaw State becomes like the best program in Georgia.
That'd be so great. I would love to see that. So we need to talk about, by the way, while we're at it, like Florida Atlantic's like history of hiring coaches. Because they have a very specific trend here. Like most of their notable coaches in recent history are Howard Stellenberger. So he's known as the legendary coach for in the NFL and for the Miami Hurricanes and Oklahoma. You know, they also hired Lane Kiffin, you know, after he was on a formerly disgraced Tennessee and USC coach at the time. Willie Taggart after he flamed out at Florida State, and then Tom Herman. There were some other ones that were mixed in here. Carl Pelini was the coach for like 2 years. He got in trouble and got fired.
I forgot Bo Pelini actually existed. Is he still at Youngstown State?
No, I don't think so. I think he's out of coaching at this point.
Oh man.
Which is funny because like the faux Pelini account still exists here and there. I think we follow him, but he mainly just says a few things about Nebraska. Like he'll do like 2 tweets a game or something, and then that's it. Some guy named Charlie Partridge was there for a little bit too, but he only lasted like 2 or 3 years. So like they have a very specific thing where they mostly hire formerly disgraced coaches that were at big programs. So if you were to go by that pattern, their current candidates are Dana Holgerson, Todd Graham, which, by the way, a lot of these guys were all in the TCU staff at some point this year. Trying to think of who else besides Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher's another one.
Who's been fired this year in the NFL?
Good question.
Is it just Dennis Allen? I feel like it. Robert Saleh.
No. Robert Saleh. Yeah, he got fired. Had to remember that one.
That was
the Panthers.
No.
Did the Panthers fire their coach yet? No. They I think they might actually be committed to the pit on that one.
Yeah.
It couldn't be just those two, right? I'm trying to think of who else is at the bottom of the standings.
I mean, Lou Anarumo soon.
Ooh.
If the Bengals fired Lou Anarumo, I would love to have Robert Saleh be the defense coordinator.
Yeah, that'd be probably a smart move.
Yeah.
But and it's going to be interesting to see what Rice does because their coaching hire, I think they were thinking more, okay, this guy came from athletic school, academic school. I mean, they hired the offensive coordinator at Stanford back when David Shaw was there. So, like, they brought in the guy who ran like power offense at Stanford, which doesn't really fit in Texas because when you think of Texas, you're thinking of high flying offense. But Rice's academic standards do make that a very different job. I'm very curious to see who they go with.
I feel like you need to have some guy who like has like maybe hire Dartmouth's head coach, like somebody who has worked with smart people, but also
yeah, and I mean, and they've been playing pretty well this year. Dartmouth has. I see. I like the hiring FCS coaches that are successful because winners win, but so many programs are hesitant to go that route. They would rather go with a coordinator for some reason. But like if you're going that route, like I know Vanderbilt right now has formerly New Mexico State's offensive coordinator Tim Beck, not the Tim Beck that's at Coastal Carolina, that was at Ohio State and stuff. So Tim Beck of Vanderbilt, if he's willing to take the job, like he is someone that would be really good for Rice. Because now he's spent that year working at Vanderbilt, having to recruit guys into an academic program. And his offense is very creative and a lot of fun to watch. So that would be a pretty good one.
I'm surprised with their work in like the space shuttle program that Rice isn't some sort of like rocket or something. Like I just am curious how Rice landed on the Owls.
I know. I'm wondering how they got there too. Like it's kind of random.
And why, like back in the early 1900s, it seems like everybody was the generals or the normals. And like, why is there not one single team that goes by the normals anymore? Like just one. I don't care about 50 of them. I just want one.
All of them changed. And like a lot of them, see, now this is the thing though. Like normally a lot of these mascot names all came from like someone watching a game in like 1930 something and going, oh, they look like owls, or they look like they're playing like tigers out there or something like that. And that's how they get their name and just kept it forever.
Or like some players like I'm a snake. I'm a slithery snake.
And like so like I mean that's like normally the story. Our friends at the College Football Commission do like normally a series where they look at where the moniker name came from, and most of the time it's always some random person declaring something like that, and then the name just sticks and has stuck throughout the rest of history.
Yeah, like the Fighting Irish.
It's so funny how that's
like Notre Dame was named after the Fighting Irish because a paper was like trying to talk down on them, and they were just like, "Yeah, we'll stick with that. We don't have a name. Let's go."
Yeah, and that's it from then on.
Yeah.
I would like to see Rice start to get in the space race though, because like UCF keeps claiming Space U on their own. I think Rice needs to come out next year and just have Space U uniforms that are completely different than the normal color scheme. Like
like it's like the X's and O's and like the chalkboard formulas, but like all over the uniform.
Oh, that would be pretty ugly.
Because like that's the side of stuff. Like UCF in that area, they shoot the rockets off, and like to some extent in Houston, but like Rice is kind of where they start have like the smart people behind everything, and like having like some random formula put on their uniform that's like universal, so it's not like some top secret formula that like Kenya would start shooting rockets off into into space based on a college football game, but like just some common known like formula, common-ish known formula that wouldn't like give up top secret stuff, you know? Like that'd be dope.
Yeah. And I mean, going with the Space uniforms seems to be a successful route. You see the results of UCF space games. You never want to play UCF in a space game. I know that.
Yeah, there used to be a minor league baseball team, and I don't know if they go by it anymore, but it used to be the Albuquerque Isotopes, and it was like, let me see if I can pull this up because it like I feel like this design would be perfect for how do you spell Albuquerque?
Took a wrong turn at Albuquerque.
I feel like it would be a very good design for like let me see if I can share this here. Like instead of it being an A for Albuquerque, like change it to like an R.
Oh yeah, reinvent the R a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be entertaining.
Yeah. I feel like that would be dope. But
I wasn't ready for this much discussion about Rice.
hey,
Shout
man,
out to them.
we never know where the rabbit hole is going to take us. We don't have a tentative schedule. We just have like a list of things to talk about. Most people are really organized with it. We are not.
Nope. So we'll go down the rabbit hole sometimes. We do not rehearse anything. Moving on to our next topic here, and that is, this week is the last week of the regular season for FCS. The playoffs are coming, and things are getting crazy because we saw several upsets happen this past weekend. And forgive me if I don't end up listing them all off because there were a lot. UT Martin got upset by Tennessee Tech. We saw Stony Brook get upset by New Hampshire. Villanova got upset by Monmouth. Multiple other upsets in the CAA, and really just like all around the landscape. We saw a lot of teams that were hanging around the bubble get even more bubble-like, if you will. Like, so it's very wide open who's going to be some of those last at-large teams in the bracket now. But it's a lot of fun. I'm very excited to see what the bracket ends up looking like next week because, this year's playoffs are going to be a blast. That's sure.
Yeah, this might be one of the few times that I will watch like the entirety of the FCS playoffs if my personal calendar allows me. By the way, I got these headphones to play Xbox with a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, and like every time partway through the show, I remember there's a mic in it, and like I feel like I'm like a coordinator that just got hired, and I'm like, guys, I don't think we should call that play.
Should we call this play instead?
I don't know what play to call.
Yeah, it's funny. I noticed that like happens like towards like somewhere in the middle portion of our episode.
I have ADHD, so I get fidgety and I'll like look around and like I'll get distracted very easily. And then every time I remember, like there's like the mic retracts into here, and I'll just pull it out. I'm like, oh yeah, and then like you'll see it for a split second sometimes, and I'll be talking like this, and then like the next time, like after Justin's done talking, I'm back to normal. But lately, it's been harder to get back in, so I don't know if I'm gonna pull it out again, or else it might just get stuck like that.
Yeah. But we saw some absolutely crazy games that weren't upsets happen. Oh man, there's been just this Ohio Toledo game is getting chaotic.
I know it feels like every time I look, Toledo is always turning the ball over, but then Ohio seems to not do anything with it.
So Ohio was driving, Toledo got an interception, and on the very next play, Toledo just fumbled it back. That is action, my friends. But we saw one of the craziest games I think I've ever watched on my television in FCS, and that was Eastern Washington versus Idaho State. There were some crazy catches and all that, but overall, Eastern Washington scored a touchdown on every single drive. Their quarterbacks, really it was mainly one quarterback. There was another, their backup threw one pass, but their quarterbacks combined to go 15 for 15 passing. They ran for like 400 something yards. This was honestly the greatest offensive performance I've ever seen.
No,
Like,
it
it's
is missing
impossible.
one thing.
What is that?
The Mona Lisa of drives.
I know.
It is missing.
It didn't.
It is missing a 15 to 20 play 90-yard drive that takes up like most of the quarter or all of the quarter.
Oh wait, hang on. I'm going to challenge you on this one. I'm going to take a look because they may have gone on a long drive.
If they did,
Hang
then there is a perfect game. Like,
because
their quarterback had a perfect game. Their running back had a great game, but it would be the perfect game if they just took a large chunk of time on one drive and scored a touchdown.
I mean, scoring 77 points. I like how the headline literally says sets numerous records. Let's see here. They had a 9-play, 75-yard drive to open the game.
That's pretty good.
Like just about every drive is like 8 plays long. They had one drive where they forced an interception, and that was
Ohio was about to score a touchdown.
Oh yeah. Oh, look at that long run. Actually, as BG alums, I think we're rooting for Toledo to win this one because oh wait, is this it? 10 plays, 79 yards, 5 minutes long.
Pretty good.
Yeah. They didn't get a 15-play drive. Ironically enough, Idaho State actually went on the longer drive. So final score of this game was 77-42.
Jeez.
I mean, it was the most absurd offensive performance I've ever seen.
That reminds me of like the good old days of the Big 12.
Like, you cannot play. I mean, and college football 25 is a little harder to play than NCAA 14, but like, you can't even play freshman in NCAA 14, and most of the time you won't be able to put up a game like this.
Yeah, that
is how ridiculous this performance was.
Speaking of video games, did you see they put the Saquon Barkley backwards hurdle into the game?
I saw it, did not watch the clip.
It was basically the play, but
it was basically the play, yeah.
But instead of doing it like 7 yards down the field, he did it at the line of scrimmage, like right after, like a linebacker or safety was coming up, and as soon as he got around the line, he did that. That was all the clip was. It was essentially the same thing. But I feel like I would do that every single. Dang, I didn't realize Ohio State lost their center to a torn Achilles.
Yeah, that's a tough loss. We'll get to that in a moment. But the other crazy game was also in the Big Sky. Montana and Portland State this game was just weird throughout. The first half had nothing going on. Portland State took a 3-0 lead in the halftime. Then both teams immediately opened the second half, scoring touchdowns in their first 2 drives. So like just like a burst of points out of nowhere, and then Montana kept scoring. And then about halfway through the fourth quarter, all of a sudden the broadcast just goes out. You don't know what happened. And then all of a sudden, like, it finally comes back from like a prolonged commercial that just repeated over and over. And there's these 2 guys in the studio, and they're like, well, we appear to have a situation here. Is the power is out at the stadium and all around Montana's campus. So we know they have resumed play, but we don't quite know what's going on. And then eventually, like, they phoned in the normal broadcasting team, and then like on the fly, they just decide, you know what, we'll just keep this thing going and we'll just have these guys talk over the phone and tell us what's going on. So like it was like a radio broadcast of like television announcers talking over the phone into a studio, telling us what's happening the rest of this game. It was just the most hilarious thing.
That sounds
It
so
was
low budget. That
it
sounds like
really
something we
was.
would do.
Yes, exactly. Like it was hilariously low budget. They made it happen on the fly. It was very, very entertaining.
Um, is it time for our picks? Should we get to our picks?
I think so. It is time for our picks. So we start out in the American, as always. If you've watched the show, you're probably familiar that we do the order we do these picks. But we start off with the American. Army
We do one
undefeated.
game from each conference, and typically it's the better matchup without trying to choose the same team every week.
Yeah, so I mean it's not a perfect formula, but like usually we do try to pick the biggest game in the conference, but if we pick too much of like the same team or something, or if like the biggest game in the conference is kind of a mismatch, then we'll just move on to a different game that looks a little bit closer. We like to make this a little bit challenging. During this season, Matt currently holds the lead with a 77-43 record. I fell behind at one point, but last week, thanks to a good week, I have caught up, but I still trail with a 76-44 record. So we are one game apart. These picks could be pretty interesting because maybe I'll get to take the lead. Maybe Matt will pull away. It's going to be an interesting week. So leading off with the American, I can tell you're seeing the same commercial I am because the reflection of your glasses. Army taking on Notre Dame. This game doesn't need much introduction. Undefeated Army taking on number 6 Notre Dame. Huge game for Army, and what a wagon they have been. Matt, who do you think wins this one?
Notre Dame. Say whatever you want about that Northern Illinois loss. Since that loss, they've actually been a very good football team.
Yeah, Notre Dame has been kind of throttling everyone in their path. Now, obviously, it helps when the opposing team fumbles the opening kickoff, like Virginia did.
Yeah, if they didn't rule that down, I mean, that would have been a touchdown. I'm like,
oh yeah, for sure. I think they ruled it like a muffed kickoff, so like that's why it was ruled stopped right there. Very weird thing, but Notre Dame seems to know what to do against these option offenses. I don't think Army's going to turn around and fumble it away 5 times like Navy did. So they'll keep this competitive, but in the end, I have to go to Notre Dame in this one as well. In the ACC, we are going to the Northeast this weekend. There wasn't a truly big ACC game, and I was like, you know what? This is our chance to go and talk some New England college football here. Syracuse versus UConn. Syracuse 7-3 on the year. UConn is already bowl eligible themselves, having a great year. Whose great season continues with a win here?
Syracuse. I think they get back on track after Kyle McCord's disastrous game a few weeks ago.
I think that Syracuse can keep this rolling as well. This is in the Dome. This is UConn's first away game since I think like week 2 or 3 this season. Because they had that weird stretch. They had 6 straight home games. Oh wait, never mind. I stand corrected. UConn did play at UAB the last time out, so they did play a road game recently. UConn did struggle in that game, and I think they might struggle here at Syracuse as well. Syracuse looks like they're playing pretty good down the stretch. So I'm going to go with the orange. In the Big 12, this game serves potentially as a Big 12 championship elimination game. At the very least, the winner is in a very good spot to make it to the Big 12 championship. BYU at Arizona State. 2 teams that were picked bottom of the conference in preseason are now at the top. Who do you think wins this one?
I have BYU. I think they bounce back. I do like Arizona State. I think this is going to be a really great game. Like, I may not go quad box. Wait, what time is this game?
This afternoon, 3:30.
And the Indiana game's at noon.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is the game of the afternoon slate.
This might be the I might like forego the quad box just to watch this game.
I will not, because I will also have the Brawl of the Wild on. But this game is definitely going to be on the quad box somewhere. I have Arizona State winning this one. There's a lot of sloppiness I've seen from BYU in recent weeks. I don't know why, but I don't like it. And also, it feels like Arizona State is really improving week to week. They're getting hot at the right time. Give me the Sun Devils to win at home and really get themselves in this Big 12 championship race. In the Big 10, top 5 matchup, Indiana. Yes, top 5 Indiana at Ohio State. Who do you think wins this one?
Don't call them a basketball school, because they are now a football school. Kurt Cignetti is one hell of a coach, and he took James Madison to by far one of the better runs that we've seen from a non-Power 5 team. And he's going to do the same thing with Indiana. He's going to pull the upset. Let's go. Indiana wins the Big Ten for the first time ever.
Oh, that'd be so great. I'm going to disagree with you, though. I think Ohio State ends up winning this one.
They lost their center, Justin.
They did lose their center, but I struggle to see Ohio State losing this game at home. So I got the Buckeyes winning this one. In Conference USA, also another piece of the matchup is, like, I'm also concerned how Indiana's offensive line will hold up against the Ohio State defense front. That's going to be another issue. Conference USA, Western Kentucky at Liberty. This is part of, like, essentially what is like a play-in tournament kind of going on here, Conference USA, because it was very hard to pick which game to pick, because there's Western Kentucky, Liberty, and also Sam Houston, Jacksonville State, and then they kind of flip-flop and play, the others next week. Like Liberty plays Sam Houston, and Western Kentucky will play Jack State. So, like, there's the Conference USA race is going to be decided in the next 2 weeks, and this is one of the key games. Who do you think wins it?
Is Western Kentucky coming out with yet another helmet?
I bet they probably will. Liberty's coming out with a fire helmet of their own too.
Well, screw the Flames. Give me the Hilltoppers. The Hilltops will not be on fire this time.
I am worried about how Western Kentucky looked last week. Their offense just stumbled out of nowhere. I have Liberty winning this one. I think they're kind of starting to get a little bit on the right track here. I'm going to go with Liberty, especially at home. In the MAC, what is going on right now? We have Ohio versus at Toledo. They are currently. This is a key game for Ohio. A win keeps them in the MAC championship race. Toledo also root for some chaos, but they're also in it. Currently, they're past midway through the third quarter, tied 7-7.
And fumble.
Did he really fumble?
Yeah.
He really fumbled as we were talking about this. But that's not good for you. Why is that?
Because I chose Toledo. But why does it seem like on Maction nights when we do this show, we end up choosing the Maction game that's going on during the show? Is that planned?
So it's because most of the MAC games are going on. Usually I end up picking one that's on Thursday because I don't want to pick one that happened on Tuesday already.
Anyway, it seems like every time we choose these games, we get near the end of our show and it's still tied.
Yeah, no, that's an amazing thing. we're actually pretty fortunate this has happened so far, where the game is still in doubt when we're actually making our picks.
Yeah.
I am going with Ohio, by the way, not because Toledo fumbled just as we brought the game up, but because I thought the Bobcats are on a roll right now. Tim Albin is doing a really good job there. This team lost a lot of starters in the portal in the spring. So, like, that's a testament to the depth that they're recruiting here, that this team is still playing at a high level, even though they lost all those guys. And right now, like, they're at midfield with a chance to potentially take the lead.
But they won't.
In the Mountain West, we're going west now. Colorado State at Fresno State. Colorado State is still looking to spoil the Boise State UNLV rematch. Rams are undefeated in Mountain West play. They had a rough start to the year, but they've really corrected the course here recently. Fresno State, meanwhile, looked good to start out the year. Kind of been falling apart, but they just had a bye week. Who do you think wins this one?
I feel like we've had Colorado State for a few weeks now. And I feel like I keep saying the same thing. Colorado State's offense is clicking right now. They figured it out.
Yeah,
it's there.
Absolutely.
It's not going anywhere. I think it keeps rolling.
I am going to go with the upset here. I don't know why. I just feel like, you know what? This Mountain West race has been way too routine.
California dreaming.
We need some chaos to kick up here, and I think the chaos kicks up with Fresno State pulling off the upset in Mountain West after dark. In the SEC, really had to dig for this one because the SEC is terrible. I mean, it's a terrible SEC slate this weekend.
Is this the week they play like scrubs?
I think part of the problem is that like half the conference is doing the BS where they play their bye games late in the year, which is very annoying.
Is this the week Alabama plays Mercer?
No, that was last week for them.
Okay.
So like that's a weird thing too, because of, like the calendar this year is a week longer. Some of the teams did it last weekend, and now the rest of them are doing this weekend. It makes no sense, but there's no truly good matchups at the top of the conference. So we are digging our way down here. Vanderbilt at LSU. Vanderbilt has frustrated many fan bases before. LSU's fan base is already frustrated. Can they frustrate Tigers and lead to another Brian Kelly meltdown?
Playing at LSU is hard, no matter how good or bad their team is.
And of course, don't tell Lane Kiffin, but this is another LSU Nike.
Vanderbilt is going to walk away with a win. And Brian Kelly is yet again going to tell his receiver, stop jumping. I told you not to jump. Don't walk away from me. I'm yelling at you. My face is turning red.
You're untouchable. Oh man, that'd be great.
Somebody needs to make a 10-minute clip of just Brian Kelly losing his shit on the sidelines.
You could make the 10-minute clip out of just this year.
Yeah. There's some times where it was like always in the red zone for Notre Dame, and it was like even on like a kick that got kicked through the uprights, Brian Kelly's purple face and screaming at someone. And like I get a notification saying Brian Kelly screams at player, and I'm like, why is this news? This is just expected at this point.
As much as I wanted to pick Vanderbilt here, I had to go with LSU in this one. I mean, at some point they have to rebound, right?
No.
At some point?
No.
In the Sun Belt, Marshall has emerged.
Damn it. I've made the wrong pick and I didn't grab my shirt that I found at Burlington.
Oh no. Marshall is on a surprise run right now. They have emerged from the chaos that is the Sun Belt East to have the lead in the division. At Old Dominion, can Marshall survive the inconsistent Monarchs to keep the lead in the division? or Old Dominion pull the upset?
I do not have my Marshall shirt, so I'm going to go with Old Dominion.
Yeah, that's totally the reason you expect to give when you gave these picks 2 days ago. I am going to go with Marshall because you forgot your shirt, and also because I just like the direction this team is going right now. I also just this is also a hedge for me because I bet.
Oh wow, he fumbled.
Did he really just fumble?
Yeah.
Oh my.
Oh, all the Toledo players are standing up.
Recovered.
They gave the ball to Ohio.
Wait, did they really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there it is. There it is. The guy's had them. The guy's doing surrender cobra on the field right now. Oh man. Wow. This game is wild. Like there's so many fumbles.
Yeah.
And if they're like they're 7-7 right now at near the end of the third quarter. Like there's been hardly any scoring, but a lot of fumbles.
I don't know how that wasn't like I don't know how a Toledo guy. Oh no, Toledo has the ball. The guy has the ball, and they.
So how did they give that to Jason
Campbell
using the sideline too? Yeah, what did they call there? This is really hard when we're not listening to audio.
Yeah, no. For those of you watching our show, we're watching football, so maybe we just need to do a show of us watching football.
I know, right? Just broadcast a game for this show, even though no one asked us to,
and no one can watch it from our channels. Moving on, let's go to FCS.
All right, we're going to a game that is one of the conference championship games, or not really a conference championship game, but one of the games where a conference championship is kind of on the line. Southeast Missouri State, the current leaders of the Big South Ohio Valley Association Conference, at Tennessee State and Eddie George. So this game, if Tennessee State were to pull the upset in Southeast Missouri State, and there's no other upsets in the conference, there would be a 5-way tie for the conference championship. Good luck figuring out those tiebreakers. I mean, that would be absolutely incredible.
My pick is opposite of what I want. My pick is Southeast Missouri State. I want Tennessee State to win to have absolute chaos. But Southeast Missouri State is a wagon this year, so keep it rolling.
I cannot believe that. We both picked Southeast Missouri State for the exact same reason. We disagreed on most of our picks, but had the exact same mindset on this one. I like what the run that they're on right now, but I want to root for the chaos. I want to see how they settle this 5-way tie for the conference championship. I have a feeling that probably won't happen, and that Southeast Missouri State could take care of business, but it's going to be a very intriguing game to watch. Definitely going to be on my quad box for sure.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's a sports show.
Yeah.
We did it, Justin.
That's a sports show.
We finished without just focusing solely on the football game that's on right now.
I know, right?
We did have a decent stretch, but
especially if there's another fumble. Like, we may have to go back to it, but
who knows when we'll be back from commercial break. Do you have a food topic?
So, food this week. Let's go through our crazy food takes, or at least our craziest food take. Matt, what is yours?
You mean outside of conspiracy theories? I don't remember what I told you the other day.
Okay, fine. I'll answer for you. You do not like mac and cheese.
Oh, yeah. I don't like mac and cheese because every single day when I went to my great aunt's house when I was a kid, I would have either, I think for lunch, I would have salami and sweet gherkin, salami sandwiches with sweet gherkin pickles. Wow. And maybe like a small amount of chips. And then for dinner, I would always have a hot dog and mac and cheese. Every day. For 3 years. I do not like mac and cheese anymore.
But yeah, do you like hot dogs still?
I will choose a brat over a hot dog anytime I get the chance. If a hot dog's offered, it's different. It's meat or like mystery meat, I guess.
You can't get you can't tired of that.
What's your hot take, Justin?
Like you're the first person I have ever heard of in my entire life that did not like mac and cheese.
I mean, I'll eat it because my daughter is 3 and randomly gets hungry after 2 bites and then wants a snack, and I'm like, I guess I'll eat it so it doesn't go to waste. And so I'll eat mac and cheese. It's just not in my top 5, top 10.
Or 20 or 30.
It's not in the bottom. I'll tell you, like, it's not in the bottom, but I'm not really a picky eater either.
Yeah.
Like, my wife was like, hey, if I make this, we'll eat it. And I'm like, yeah, I'll eat it. And she's like, do you like it? And I was like, yeah, I'll eat it. It's being offered to me. I'll eat it. Like, I don't have an opinion either way. It's going in here and down here.
And out there. Oh no, I don't know if we're supposed to make those jokes on here.
I don't care. It's our show. There's like 5 people that are gonna watch.
Mine is that I just absolutely hate onions. I hate onions so much. Like, I cannot stand anything with them. The taste, the texture, every single thing about it. There's no redeeming qualities in my mind. I do not consider them an edible substance. They are so awful to me.
I love red onions.
And see, those are even worse. Like, I hate those the most.
They're so delicious, Justin. If it was socially acceptable, I probably would eat a red onion like an apple.
Oh, it's so I almost gag thinking about that.
Like, I'm married, so it's like we're both married, but like I feel like I can get away with a lot more like stuff like that. Like, I'll get like a look or like a why the hell are you doing that? But it's seldomly questioned anymore.
I think when we get married, we don't care what people think. And that's the problem.
Hey, the fact that we really haven't let ourselves completely go is a miracle. The fact that we're not 2 600-pound guys on this show with what we eat and the way we eat.
Although I think I have to thank my golden retriever for that. Seeing that, like, just before the episode, I went on a 40-minute walk with her because she was crazy today.
Yeah, today was arms at the gym, so I got it going.
Getting swole over there.
Yeah, Mondays are leg day.
Do the
Wednesdays are arm day. Huh?
Do the kids still say getting swole these days?
I don't care what the kids say. Call me old, call me young. I don't care. Whatever comes out of my pie hole is what is said. And then if they don't like that, they can respect their elders.
Yeah.
Went to Dixie Chili in Northern Kentucky this weekend and got me thinking, maybe we should do a Cincinnati Chili review.
Ooh, yeah.
See if we can bring Chad with us.
Yeah, oh yeah, by the way, mentioning Cincinnati Chili, Skyline now has a mac and cheese way where you basically, like, if you've heard of the 3-way or whatever before, you're not replacing the spaghetti with mac and cheese. I know you don't like this. This is what got us on this topic in our group chat this weekend. But
I like how Chad's still a part of our Updog group chat, but he's not part of Updog anymore.
But yeah, so like this mac and cheese way, if you like mac and cheese, which Matt does not, but it is actually really good. Like, I don't know.
Is it Skyline cheese that they use for the cheese of the mac and cheese?
Not that I can tell, but like,
if they did it like that, I would totally eat it.
So it like they do put the skyline cheese on top, just so you know.
Yeah.
That's still there. Actually, you get it in the bag, so it doesn't all melt.
Well, you take yours to go.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's why. If you were to sit down and eat it, different.
it would be on top. Yeah.
For those of you who aren't familiar with Cincinnati chili, it's not what you think of as chili, like Texas chili. It is spaghetti with like a stew kind of substance that is called Cincinnati chili. And then you put cheese on top, and then that's called a three-way. You put onions on it or beans. One of those makes it a four-way. Both of those makes it a five-way. You can do the same thing with a coney. You get the hot dog, you put the chili on it, and then onions, and then a mountain. And by a mountain, I mean a mountain of fine shredded mild cheddar cheese.
And it's really good cheese. I don't know where their source is, but it's really good.
No, I mean, like, if you go to Cincinnati and get Cincinnati chili, but you're expecting like what you would expect nationwide as chili, like beans, like from Texas, if you expect Texas chili, you're going to be severely disappointed. If you go into it expecting it's its own thing, you will probably like it.
Yeah. But like this mac and cheese that's in the mac and cheese way, like, you know, like I didn't know what to expect from it. Like I didn't know it was just gonna be some, you know, like okay, you know, like I expected to be just like, okay, you know, this is mac and cheese. It's kind of there, you know. I mean, the chili is the star of the show. That wasn't the case. This actually was like really good, really creamy mac and cheese. Like it was actually like good mac and cheese. And then obviously, you know, the chili and the cheese, you know, the skyline cheese at top was also ridiculous. Like it was pretty good. I was a fan.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different places in Cincinnati to get Cincinnati style chili. Skyline and Gold Star are the main places. I'd say the majority of diehards go to Skyline. There's a select portion of the population that likes Gold Star.
But in general, Gold Star's business is always kind of funny because, you know, it's a product that's only sold here, only sold to people here. But for the most part, if you ask someone from Cincinnati, or if you mention someone in Cincinnati that you went to Gold Star, they would go, "What? Why would you do that? Why didn't you go to Skyline instead?"
Yeah.
It's honestly amusing how Gold Star exists. But
well, they bought Tom and Chi, if you're familiar with Tom and Chi, and then they expanded their menu and dropped chili from the name. So it's not just like they're trying to go a different route about it than Skyline.
Ooh,
whereas Skyline is like chili. Like they're like, hey, come here and get chili. If you don't get chili, we're gonna make fun of you a little bit, but you can still get things. Yeah.
Come here.
And then there's individual places like Blue Ash Chili in Blue Ash, Ohio. There's Dixie Chili in Newport, Kentucky. There's Camp Washington in Camp Washington.
I have to mention this. So how did you get over there with the bridge since our bridge burned down?
I just went through the city and over the Taylor Bridge.
Through the city and over the bridge.
And if you can take Monmouth and go up York and then circle back around to Monmouth because it's a one-way.
Yeah.
But yeah, Empress Chili in Alexandria, Kentucky is super dope. So there's a lot of different places, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, I like the one-offs. I like this place as the one-off, or this place as the one-off." But like for the most part, I like Skyline. Get out of my face. Stop talking to me.
But Updog Sports Talk Cincinnati Chili Tour coming
TBD.
This summer? I don't know.
It may be a multi-week thing.
Probably. It'll probably be like something where we just randomly go one time, and then we did it We went to this one, and then it'll be like 3 weeks until we go to the next one.
Yeah, and at some point in the next 10 years, we'll have a review of every place.
Yep, we'll get there.
I
think that's the show.
Yeah, that might be it. Follow us at Updog Sports Talk on all social media. You can find us wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you can't find us, then message us and we will tell you if we're there or not. But we're at the main ones: Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube Music, Podbean, iHeart. I'm going to try to get us on Amazon, on Audible.
Hey.
Yeah. So we are out there. As I said before, there's technical difficulties with Google Meet allowing us to get the copy of the video, and then YouTube not allowing us to download the video without having premium. So yeah, couple extra processes in here that we don't feel like paying for. So next episode coming whenever I get to it.
Yeah.
So, yep, that's the show. We'll see you guys later.
See you later.